Hello, welcome to Hotelintel.co, and today I am with, this person doesn't need an introduction, I don't think, but in case you don't know him, barely, can you introduce yourself?
My name is Rohit Sachdev. I am the CEO and founder of Soho Hospitality. Mm-hmm. We are a diversified hospitality company. We provide interior design and F&B consulting services in Asia, Middle East, and Europe. Mm-hmm. We operate 5 restaurant brands, which were born out of Thailand and expanding internationally. That's Above 11, Charcoal, Cantina, Havana Social, and our quick service restaurant brand, Soho Pizza. And we also own and operate the 200-room Fraser Suites in Bangkok. And lastly, most recently, we launched a digital marketing agency for the hospitality industry called So Communications. Okay. And so pretty much everything that we do, we eat, breathe, sleep, hospitality, and it primarily, it runs through our veins.
Right. So interesting, because now your business is in hospitality segment, and with the current situation, how have you navigated through this kind of situation?
Yeah. So the interesting thing, and I've been sharing this sort of analogy to a lot of people when I've shared my perspective on the industry. But I listened to a speaker very recently during when things were really shut down, and he likened what's happening right now.
He likes it.
He likened what's happening right now to what military commanders face at the time of war. And he basically, we're speaking to us as entrepreneurs and telling us, you're going through what we go through at the time of war. You're fighting a war where you don't know who the enemy is. So the enemy could, in our sense, the enemy could be regulatory, the government not, allowing us to open, for example, in the restaurant space, we were ordered shut. The enemy could be consumer behavior, ideology in the way they think. And basically what he said was that, you don't know who the enemy is, and you don't know where he's going to attack you from or where you should attack. So I really kind of love that analogy because it's really true. We don't have any past experience to drive on in terms of navigating through the pandemic. And, we don't know when it's going to start, when it's going to finish. And we don't know if we're going to be attacked, by land, sea, or air. So, that's in a reality what has happened to the hospitality industry, first and foremost, as well as other industries. And, how did we navigate through that? I think the first thing that we looked at was, how we were going to preserve liquidity. Because at the end of the day, the hospitality business, especially the F&B business, is primarily a cash-driven business, and it's primarily a B2C business. So the first thing to is make sure that we could preserve liquidity. But the question then was, how long are we going to need to preserve liquidity for? And earlier on, I had estimated that it was going to be 3 months. And now we're in August. It's 6 months since March, and there's no visibility in where this is going to end. So couple of the things we did, and beyond preserving liquidity, was to really look at how we could operate, more efficiently. I think the restaurant industry, we've gotten away with not operating very efficiently for a long time. Especially restaurants that do well. You make a lot of money, you make good bottom line, but then everything in between kind of is like fluff. But what the COVID pandemic taught us, and I think it's going to be a paradigm shift for now in the future, is that, we're going to have to be really operationally efficient. And I think a lot of, restaurateurs and restaurant operators have been opening up the kimono and really taking a deeper look into, where can they become efficient, where they can become more productive. And I think that is here to stay. I mean, maybe the paradigm shift is now because of the pandemic. It forces us to do that. But, I think that is here to stay. But traditionally, as an industry, I mean, I know mom and pop. I mean, a lot of restaurants came out of mom and pop shops who never had any experience in the industry. So, many people never even had P&Ls in our industry. They never looked at their food costs, their beverage costs, and things like that. So, I think and I think we got away with being overstaffed, for example, as an industry. And so I think it's important for, and what we did was we really started looking at all the key performance indicators within our organization, knowing that if we weren't efficient in all those areas, we wouldn't survive. And I think that's here to stay, and I think that's happening in a lot of industries. I've spoken to other people in the hospitality industry, and they've also shared with me, they said to me things like, did you realize after COVID that you could have done with a lot less staff? And I looked at him, shaking my head. Yeah, so I think, all those things are coming into play, and they're here to stay.
Right. Okay. And another thing that I've seen you just launched recently is your food delivery. What do you take on that? Like, everyone is doing food delivery these days. Your thoughts?
Look, for the first 1 or 2 months of the pandemic, I'm talking April, May, and June, 3 months, we were primarily driving business through third-party delivery.
Right.
And looking at our numbers compared to 2019, across all of our businesses, we've seen an increase in third-party delivery revenues 3 to 4x of what we were doing in 2019. So that's a huge increment. Now the challenge with that business is the incredibly high commissions that we pay. So most restaurant operators are paying, anywhere between 30 to 35% of the revenues to the third-party delivery providers. Yeah. When you then factor that 30% and you add the other 30%, which is the de facto, food and beverage cost across the industry, and then you take it into labor costs, you take energy costs, and you factor in marketing costs and all of that, you're really not left with anything. So it is very, very challenging to be able to make that business model work. And the funny thing too is that we're not making money. And today I read in the Bangkok Post that Food Panda announced a loss of 2019 loss of 1.3 billion baht. And Grab announced a loss in Thailand of 1.7 billion baht. So if the merchants aren't making money, and then when you look at the third-party delivery companies are not making money, then you have to wonder, does the business model, the third-party food delivery business model, actually, we know it adds value, right? The consumer wins at the end of the day. But if the merchant can't make money out of the transaction, and neither is a third-party delivery operator making money out of the transaction, then from my perspective, I believe that there's a disruption waiting to happen in the industry. Now, I don't know what's happening amongst some of the other new players that are coming. SEB recently came in with Robinhood, and they've invested a significant amount of capital to perhaps become a disruption in the food delivery game. There's some other players. We're evaluating and already have some of our businesses doing delivery on our own, and we're exploring that very, very early stages. But I do believe that there is going to be some kind of disruption in the industry, but at the end of the day, the best part of it is that the consumer wins.
It's true. So your delivery service, is it for only pizza, Soho Pizza, or everything?
Yeah. So we started we partnered with a delivery platform to offer Soho Pizza, as our own proprietary delivery service. It's only about a few weeks old. Fortunately, we've had good traction. We had over 400 to 500 people, log in and just register on the site, and right there and then is a benefit that we bring to the table going on our own that we don't get from the third-party delivery guys. We don't get the data. At the end of the day, those customers are ours.
Right.
but maybe the third-party delivery providers would say they're theirs. But I believe there are our customers who are leveraging their platform. And I'm not saying it's not beneficial to us. It is beneficial, but the fact is that we have no control over that data. Right. By creating our own platform and driving delivery on our own, we can capture data at a time in which data is currency. And the other thing is that we can become fully in control of the entire, throughput of that delivery process, from the time in which the order comes in all the way to fulfillment and the guy dropping the food at the door.
So the whole experience you can control, which is actually good for your brand.
We can, and we have a very strong branding with our brand. And we're going to be about 6 Soho Pizza outlets by the end of this month.
Even during this time.
Yeah. So we're I'm always a very opportunistic guy, and I think that sitting back is boring. I think at some aspects we need to be a little bit more reserved. But I'm always going to be opportunistic, and I think that COVID or not, pizza sells.
Pizza with or without pineapple?
Right now, without, because we're in New York pizza, but we are exploring and doing an R&D on new toppings, and as we navigate through to the Thai demographic in some of our outlets, I'm sure at some point we probably will have to, put in pineapple, because at the end of the day, this is not a return on ego, right? It's a return on investment business.
Thank you very much.
And if that's what the customers want, then we will place pineapple on our pizza. But personally, it's not one of my favorite things, and I'm not for it. But I wouldn't say that we haven't explored that. And as we're navigating to other areas where there are more Thai-centric neighborhoods, certainly we are going to have to make sure that the flavor profiles that we introduce in the market are going to have to, meet the needs of those consumers.
Right. Okay. Now we talk let's talk about pizza and pineapple. Let's talk something that I found interesting when you talked with Bangkok Post the other month. You said that fine dining is the thing of the past.
Yeah, I called it in a talk with Delivering Asia Communications and C9 Networks. I was on a talk, and I wrote it in an article as well. I called the death of fine dining. Look, at the end of the day, I would say that that's a little bit exaggerated. Fine dining is not going away forever.
Okay.
But it is the segment of the F&B space that's taken the tremendous hit. There was some data done in a research. It was primarily the U.S. market centric, but it showed that even 12 months after the COVID pandemic, the only business that was showing growth in the food space was pizza. And this is in the U.S., so this is not Thai or Asian data. And it showed that 12 months out, even after COVID, and that's probably going to be further extended because now we're seeing second and third waves. They were showing that fine dining is going to be hit in terms of revenue constraints of up to 50% from 50% and up. So the challenge to the industry, is two or threefold. Firstly, fine dining restaurants have much higher food costs.
Right.
They're using the best, food products that are out there. Secondly, in order to produce the food that they do, they need to have the talent to match that. So, their labor costs are much, much higher. Then you look at other factors such as, rent. They're renting grade prime commercial properties.
Right.
You factor that in, you take the 50%, and you're not, the numbers don't start making sense. You're not going to be able to yield a profit. I yesterday was on Facebook, and there was a brand I'm not going to name in Thailand that never did an ad on Facebook before. It's one of the top fine dining establishments, but now they're having to go through the we're like the normal restaurant operators, right? We've been using marketing and advertising from the beginning. They didn't have to. They had Michelin Guide and Michelin stars and San Pellegrino's Asia's 50 Best, and they were bringing in a tourist demographic as well who were traveling for food, right? Yeah. Because that became big. Today, all that is gone. And because the marginal propensity to consume when the price points are at such a higher amount, and the tickets of a meal, average per spend are so much higher, right, people are going to think twice when the economy is constrained. So you're dealing with a country that is, thrived on travel, yeah, thrived on tourism. That's gone. Mm-hmm. You're dealing with, consumers having, being constrained in terms of their incomes. Many companies, are now still operating at 50%, 60% leave without pay policies, yeah, especially in our industry. So, we're faced with constraints on consumer spending, lack of, and I really believe that globally, the trend will be moving away from fine dining into smart, what I call smart social dining, which is what we do, into, any quick service or casual dining that is for the middle class. That's going to be a winner. Okay. And I think, I've talked to some other operators. I mean, a lot of us are looking for opportunities, but we're looking at opportunities where we can have lower capex investment, yeah, lower opex, and at a price point that's value for money driven, okay, where we can still create an experience.
So you still believe, like, even when the pandemic is over, we come up with a vaccine and we can go out and spend money again, fine dining still will not be one of those things that we go to, like, oh, Michelin star, let's eat.
No, let me fine tune what I said. By the death of fine dining, I just meant that there's going to be a lot of fine dining establishments that will be out of business. Right. That is just, a survival of the fittest thing that's going to happen, where there's going to be, there's going to be a reset button. Yeah. But at the end of the day, where there are consumers who want demand, there will be supply. So fine dining will be back. I'm sure it'll be back, but I think it'll be back in a very different approach. Today, fine dining restaurants are using third-party delivery. Mm-hmm. That was not cool. No. Rene Redzepi of Noma decided that he was going to turn Noma into a burger joint. He sells a burger for $18 a pop. But he decided he needed to reinvent himself. I'm sure they're great premium burgers because they cost $18. But a lot of them are having to reinvent themselves, and some of that reinvention will stay. Yeah. But fine dining is not, I wouldn't say it's dead yet, but I think that there's going to be a lot less fine dining establishments going forward than there are now. So
talk about reinventing yourself. Like, one of the things that we've seen is buffet. Do you think it will be gone forever?
So, in order to answer that question, you have to go back to what happened, right? When the COVID pandemic hit, everybody was all about, looking at, hygiene standards, yeah, and social distancing and all these measurements we had to take. I mean, the GM at our hotel asked me, can we do contactless lifts, and when I asked him how much that was going to cost, it was going to be about a $200,000 to $300,000 baht investment just to have a contactless elevator, and I declined that. Yeah. And so to answer that question, I really do believe that some of the old normal will be the new normal. For example, I just believe that nobody is going to go to a restaurant, be sleeping with their wives and their husband on the same bed, but having to go to a restaurant where they're going to have to sit away from each other. Right. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah. It doesn't make sense for the restaurant experience. It doesn't make sense for the merchant. So the customer, yeah, neither the customer nor the merchant, yeah, it makes sense for. Now, at first, I thought that buffets are going to be over with and all that. But the challenge is that for smaller hotels, let's say you're 100 rooms, right, you could probably very quickly change to a set menu. We're, yeah, offering 2 or 3 options, and there's going to be less wastage as, right, well. And the customer comes to the breakfast table, he orders, and he gets that what he ordered. Yeah. But when you're dealing with larger footprints, yeah, hotels with much larger footprints, 400 to 500 rooms, yeah, you're not going to be able to serve individual dining, yeah, menus. It's just not feasible. So, I think that, hotel buffets, I don't think they're gone. Mm-hmm. Again, because of demand and supply, the, right, customers still love it. Yeah. I just think that it's going to have to come with a lot of more hygiene standards, and I think that's going to be the thing that takes precedent. But I don't believe that we can say that we're no longer going to have buffets anymore. I think buffets are still going on right now in Thailand, if I'm not correct. They're still going on. I think the larger issue is how to deal with the issue of waste. And I think that's becoming a huge problem, and I think it needs to be addressed. But I think that, and we've already seen as Thailand has now approached the second and third stage of easing and consumers are now going out. I really, have not seen, restaurants where, consumers are not comfortable being together. Right. And I think at the end of the day, consumers need human interaction. That's never going to go away. True. And we're still going to like to go out and eat out. That's not going to go away. We're going to lose some of that percentage to dining in. Dining in is going to grow for sure, with the convenience factor. But I really believe that the hotel buffet will stay.
Okay. So what about these, speakeasy bars? You've seen it popping up everywhere. What else? Rooftop bars. Even you were on 4th floor, it's rooftop bar. And jazz bars everywhere in Bangkok now. What do you think of these things?
So speakeasies, jazz clubs, rooftop bars, whatever you want to call them, they're basically varied in terms of the product offering and the experience. Yeah. From that perspective, all those segments are here to stay. Okay. But the thing that is going to become really, really important is really how you're able to deliver the experience within those spaces. So, previously everybody, the word experience was a huge thing, right? Everybody was like, we need an experience we need experience in hotels, bars, rooftop. Then it was like, we need experience in residential condominiums. And then it was like, oh, we need experience in salons. When we go to our nails, we want an experience. And so, it's taken for granted now that we need a great experience. Everybody knows that. It's a no-brainer. But the big brother of experience is authenticity. And that's what takes center stage today. And so it's not really about the segment of the product that you're offering, but it's about the authenticity of the experience that you'll offer in these places in order to make sure that when your customer walks in, he is able to embrace and quickly understand the experience. And as he navigates his journey through that establishment, that it connects to him, in a compelling way. Right. And once you create that emotional connectivity, as you've seen with some of the outlets that we've rolled out into the market, as well as some of our competitors have done a great job with that as well. You're able to create, a product that sticks. So I don't think it's really about the type of product and whether we're done and over with it. We know there's a lot more to them, more of them coming into the market, but how do you make sure it's going to work? You're going to have to make sure that whatever you do is compelling.
So how many outlets, well, since you opened Havana Social, how many outlets have you seen that open similar to, copy your concept? Have you count?
Look, people look at Bangkok and say that, it's so competitive and that, there's no room for more players because there's a lot less barriers to entry in the Thai market, and everyone wants to open a restaurant. Started a few years ago. I think there's a lot of new and upcoming players in the market. There's some existing players who are also on a very opportunistic and expansion path. I think you're going to see more international brands want to come into Bangkok. So I think there are some very interesting operators and brands in Thailand. From my perspective, I see more gaps in the market.
Oh yeah.
And than I do constraints, and that's just because I don't know. I have this cloud of, concepts that I want to roll out, and hopefully, if things become okay, we'll be rolling out some of these concepts, hopefully sooner than later. I never talk about what I'm going to roll out. I always try to
people are going to copy you right away.
I don't think it's a thing of copying. I think we've always kept everything in stealth mode and under wraps until it came down, to using our platform and our marketing department to launch it, and that's just how we're going to always do it.
Because you remember when you opened Above 11, like after you opened Above 11, and then after that, everyone has rooftop bars in their hotels, and Havana Social is the same. So can you say that you are a trendsetter in F&B?
I think there's a lot of people who are trendsetters. I happen to be a person who speaks and writes about trends. So when things happen, I usually get a hold of it a lot faster than others. But I think I wouldn't say I'm a trendsetter. I think I'm a good storyteller. And I think that every time I've rolled something out, I've tried to really tell a great story.
Right, and you execute it. I think that's what it is. Like you identify an opportunities, and then you just execute it right away. I think that set you apart.
I think it's about keeping your hands and feet on the ground.
Yeah.
We approach every single project like we approached Above 11 8 years ago. And there's no ego in it. It's really about how do we create a product that is going to touch the emotional sensibilities of our consumers. And that's really the thing that takes precedence when we're looking at any particular concept. I mean, we rolled out Above 11 because we thought Bangkok needed an unpretentious, value for money driven rooftop bar. Yeah. And so it hit the spot,
Yeah.
And that's kind of, and that was the, the beginning of our journey in F&B. But no, I mean, I think that it's just about making sure we follow our methodology and follow all the steps when we're going to execute something, and making sure we execute it with attention to detail. Yeah.
So one thing that I also like, and I want to ask as an entrepreneur, like, how do you handle failure? Like, remember your restaurant that closed?
Yeah.
Like, you know how Bangkok is, like, if you close for one day, people will be like, did you see Rohit close his restaurant? Did you see that? And then Rohit didn't wait that long for people to gossip. You just came out with your video and say, okay, I just closed it. Yeah. Which is actually a good move.
Yeah, I mean, there's no need for rumors in the market. I've always been an open and honest person. Yeah. And I think you have to embrace failure. And I think the thing is too, I'm not from the hospitality industry. Mm-hmm. I'm actually from the tech industry. That's my background. I never worked in the restaurant ever. I never worked in the design industry either. So it's pretty much, a passion-driven business. But before I started restaurants, I had already failed twice. Okay. And so it's Coordinator was my third failure. Yeah. So I've dealt with failures, all along my journey. And I think that, the most important thing is perseverance. Like, you persevere and you're hopeful. And I'm the kind of guy, you drop me 10 times, I'll get up the 11th time. And I don't give up. But I think the important is not to cry over spilt milk, but the most important thing for you to do is to go back and reflect on what did you do wrong. Yeah. And that journey alone, which cost me a lot of money, I'm happy it happened earlier in my career, where I put a French restaurant in a wrong location. Because at any other location, I think it would have done really well. Right. Because the ratings were up, the net promoter scores were up, and all of that were really strong. But it was just right concept, wrong location. Right. So, I think I was spoiled. Everything I touched, turned to gold, if you will. And that's just never going to be the case. I don't think that's going to be the last time I have that. Right. But I think the important thing is to learn from it. And I really did. I mean, it was a costly expense, but I think it was worth it at the end of the day from what I got out of it, and because I won't make that mistake a second time. And I think it's good sometimes to be humbled. You can't always. It's good to be humbled a little bit, not too much where
people just like walk over you.
Yeah, but I think humility is important, especially in our industry. Yeah. It's super important.
So you learn not to put shoes on your bar. That's for the next one. Do we have a question from plenty? A lot of questions.
I can't see questions coming in on this one.
Okay, so everyone wants to be an F&B consultant. Like everyone who actually work in hotel for a little bit want to be a consultant. What makes you different? You never work in hotel.
Yeah, I think there's one thing that makes us different from every other operator, either as a consultancy or as a restaurateur, a hotelier, and the thing is this: we are one of the very few companies in the hospitality industry that has interior design, F&B consulting, digital marketing, and restaurant operations staff all working under one umbrella. So when it comes to innovation, we have a pool of amazing talent we can rely on within our own office, and we never have to go outside. Right. So I, roam around the streets of Bangkok. I find a product that I like. Within 30 minutes, I will get my guys doing layouts, looking at concepts, and the speed to market in which we can execute is a huge advantage. And also the knowledge that we have from having all these various experts. I mean, we've got 12 interior designers on our team. Okay. We've got 4 to 5 chefs in our group who work in the same office. Yeah. So, if I'm doing space planning, I can bring in my operations guy to do, help me with service stations. Yeah. When it comes to, looking at operations and kitchen design, I can bring my chefs to participate in the meeting. So I can push and pull my resources as I need. And these are resources who have many years of experience. So basically what we're able to do is offer a full suite of services to our customers that we do ourselves. And it ranges from interior design, brand development, uniforms, tabletop, food, beverage, mixology, music, service. Right. And we've been working on some amazing projects.
Can you mention one of your projects that you were working for other people?
Sure. So we just finished the design for Minor Group's Scene Beach Club, which opened in Samui. It's a international standard beach club where we did 3,000 square meters, where we did the interior design, the brand development, and we did the F&B consulting, and now we're doing the digital marketing for them as well. Okay. And we're also designing the hotel that behind the beach club.
That's Avani.
Yeah, that's the Avani in Samui. Okay. And then we in terms of something completely different, we were hired by One Bangkok, the large mixed-use development project in Bangkok, to really help them with F&B, retail F&B strategy, and we produced like a 300-page report leveraging our expertise in F&B and then bringing other people that we know in the industry who could help us to deliver that engagement. And other than that, we're doing a lot of we're working on food halls as well. And doing some other restaurants.
Is it in Bangkok? Is it in Thailand?
Yeah, so we've already done a food hall. We did the Porto de Phuket food hall in Phuket for Central. Okay. And right now we're also doing a new food hall that's coming up in Sukhumvit, where I can't really speak about it right now as it's still in the conceptualization stage. Okay. And besides that, we're looking at rolling out more concepts in the next.
So you're gonna have it all then. You have design, you have concept, you have restaurant, you're doing digital marketing as well. What else are you gonna do within this F&B space?
So we made an equity stake in a branding agency that we really liked, and the whole deal was done, and we were supposed to sign it on in terms of integrating them to the part of Soho Hospitality. And unfortunately, COVID hit, and now we're working or sort of in a partnership. I think the intention is still for that acquisition to take place, but I think it's going to be postponed. And other than that, I mean, we're expanding. We had 3 Havana socials planned for opening this year in Ho Chi Minh City, Yangon, and Singapore. Okay. And those are still in the pipeline. Actually, Ho Chi Minh City and Yangon are going to happen. Not sure what's going to happen this year, but they're going to happen in Singapore probably in 2021.
Oh, wow. That's very exciting. Do you have any questions coming in?
Not at the moment.
Okay, not at the moment. So I want to ask you, with all this plan, what is your strategy when you take in new business unit? What is your ultimate goal?
I think the first thing is ensuring alignment between the company and us, in terms of the people who I invest in people. I don't invest in businesses, and I think that's first and foremost alignment of vision with the companies that we're going to invest in. The second thing is that we, as the investor in the company, we should be able to drive their businesses strategically so that they're in a better place, than they are now with us. And, so because if we can't make them better, there would be no reason for them to get involved anyways. Yeah. And the third thing is that it synergistically, it's synergistic to the various other businesses that we're in.
Right.
And also for our own restaurant operations, but also for what we provide to our clients, right? So, for example, if we go to a client and we say, hey, we're doing F&B consulting, we're doing, interior design, and then we finish the project and we go, don't you need digital marketing? We can create an extension of our services to our other capabilities without much effort, because they already have worked with us, believe in us, they understand our culture, and the best part of it is we know their product better than anybody else. Sure. So that's a natural progression of what we do, which is to really, from the consulting side, to be a one-stop shop. But once we become a one-stop shop for our customers, imagine what we can do for ourselves.
It's true. It's true. It's very, very exciting. What are you doing? So one last question before we go over time. What is the future of F&B? I hate the word trends, but okay. What is the trend in F&B?
So I think, technology is going to become a huge factor in F&B.
What kind of technology?
From table management, point of sale, reservation management, CRM is going to become big. Data is currency, and we need to know our customers, so that's going to be huge. I think hotel dining will change forever.
Okay.
I think that you're going to see hotels without. This is my own prediction.
Okay.
I think you're going to see hotels without restaurants.
No.
I think you're going to see hotels completely outsource all of their F&B and not be run by an operator. I think that the way the hospitality operators structure their F&B is going to change forever. I think that you're going to have to offer something more than just food to get people to leave their homes and not order from third-party delivery providers. I think food alone and a nice cocktail is not going to do it. I think there's going to have to be other aspects that you're using, whether it's theatrical, whether it's fictitious, or some I don't know, something that it's going to be more difficult to get people to dine out. There was an article in the U.S. that said the U.S. industry would suffer a $50 billion loss based on just people dining in the next 12 months. So, this is a challenge for us operators. We're going to have to find newer ways to get people to leave their homes and come and dine with us. And primarily because also when they were dining at home, they saved money. So they're like, oh, I can actually stay home and go out less.
Nice, you don't have to, get up, dress up. You can just eat on your couch.
Everybody's become a chef.
We have a question from Switzerland.
Oh.
Talking about... Alain Claude said, I invest in people, not in business. He just said he likes that comment, and then follows on to say, how do you sell the concept post-COVID to people? And then it follows on, are people not afraid enough? Or
look, at the end of the day, I said this before, I think the new normal will be the old normal to some extent.
Soon, yeah.
Primarily because we need human interaction. It's our human instinct for interaction, with one another. We need to touch, we need to hug, we need to feel, we need to talk, we need to share, we need to exchange. So from that perspective, I don't plan on changing any of the concepts that I'm going to roll out. I'm going to make sure from a space planning perspective that I could turn it into social distancing if I have to, in terms of flexibility. I'm going to do that. I'm going to have more flexibility when I'm laying out spaces so that I'm not going to be stuck with fixed furniture and things like that. But at the end of the day, when I'm going out to sell concepts, I'm not doing it any differently than I was doing it before.
There's a question also now from Chris Snyder. So earlier you said that hotels have to preserve liquidity over a long time. Have you seen IT suppliers reduce their costs over the long term as this is done?
So, you know, honestly, I think it's up to each operator to go out there and be tough and squeeze, you know, their vendors. I mean, you know, if you're not already doing that, you need to be doing that. And the other thing that I've been mentioning, I've been speaking about a lot, and I really want to, you know, this might be a great way to end this conversation. I really think that the COVID pandemic made us reflect a lot. We reflected as individuals, as family members, as a community, as a country, you know, as humanity, and now as, you know, part of this world that we live in, right? If the COVID pandemic has not created an ecosystem where vendors, suppliers, customers, and partners are not finding ways to hold hands and find win-win, you know, situations, I think that they're going to come out losers. I think that we have to be in a situation where we've all been affected. I think we're now in an ecosystem where we all have to kind of find opportunities to you know, it's not like win-lose. It's all about win-win. Right. Like, how can I be in an environment where, you know, I'm in a situation where I'm going to benefit from, you know, lower costs from my supplier, but I'm also going to make sure that he's going to get, you know, my business for the next 6 to 12 months. I think that in the end, you know, is the way to approach relationships going forward, whether it be your IT suppliers or your food and beverage suppliers or whatever it may be. But I think that if we didn't get a sense of humanity during this, you know, COVID pandemic, then I think it was a huge opportunity loss. You know, if we take aside, you know, the monetary constraints and the monetary loss that we all suffered.
Okay, I think we're way over time because people are just love listening to you. Before we go, anything else that you want to leave? Oh, by the way, if you have any more questions, you can email me and then I will send it to Rohit and then we can write a nice article about it. So you all get on hotelintel.co and then, you know, everyone get a little bit of his thoughts on that as well.
Sure, I'm happy to do that. No, I think this was a great chat. I think I've you know, touched upon a lot of the things that I want to touch on. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you know, it's going to take some time. I think we need to preserve liquidity. You know, I found out that Thai won't be flying till December. We also heard today that the TAT deputy governor said that it won't be till 2021 until they open up Thailand for leisure travelers. So guys, we're in it for the long haul. We need to preserve liquidity. We need to capitalize on the local demographic. You know, people travel a lot. Thais love to travel. Now that tourism, you know, money that they spend to travel out, it's in their pockets. Let's make sure they travel domestically. Let's make sure they're wining and dining in our restaurants. Let's make sure that we, you know, are able to lure them back to come and create, you know, so that we can create customer loyalty. But, you know, this is going to be for the long haul. I don't think we'll see it getting much better in terms of the markets opening up until mid next year. And so, yeah, I think we need to brace for more challenges ahead. But I would say that, you know, the one thing I'd leave everybody is be opportunistic. Staying on the defense is boring, so be opportunistic. I think that's my recommendation. Okay, thank you so much for joining me and thank you for listening. So if you want more of this, subscribe to hotelintel.co. Until next time, thank you, bye.